Thanks for joining us on Not Boring CEs, where we don't think you should be bored to death while getting your continuing ed. Keep listening here, then hop over to notboringces.com to get all your online CE credits. All right, y'all, let's get to learning. Krista Cargle-Niles is a couples therapist and dating coach with 19 years experience helping individuals and partners navigate every stage of romantic relationships. Drawing on a systems-based approach, she integrates evidence-based methods, including the Gottman method, couples therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy to support clients in improving communication and deepening their connection and using dating apps to find true partnership. In addition to her therapeutic work, Krista has created a structured curriculum that teaches clients how to date with clarity and confidence, guiding hundreds of people toward finding lasting love. All right, welcome. We have Krista Niles today. Krista, will you kind of first talk a little bit about why is dating something that you specialize in, you have so much information about? Like, why is this your area of interest?
Absolutely, Allison. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. This is just one of my favorite topics to dive into, honestly, just because I think it is such a pain point for clients. I got into this a bunch of years back, just as I was really entering kind of the body positive space. And what I found is that one of the major pain points, especially for plus size women, as I was kind of starting to particularly work with plus size women, was around dating and feeling even able to dive into that world or even able to put themselves out there at all. And what I found is that it actually is not even remotely unique to plus size women, that this is a pain point that crosses communities, that this is an area where skills and a skills focus can be really helpful. Because what I was noticing in my practice is that some of the deeper work, the self-confidence work, body image work, helping clients feel ready, that it wasn't enough. And that actually focusing in on skills was really helpful to actually get clients with a dating profile out there, meeting people, and starting to have some success with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting how, like, as therapists, we often go to just the feelings so much, and we can spend all our time with the feelings instead of realizing there may be a skills gap, or there might just be like, it's different now dating than it was before. And the way their parents dated, like, their parents don't have good advice for them if this is somebody dating online. Like, it's a different world right now than it was for the way it's always been before.
Absolutely. And I do think that there is an expectations setting that is very helpful to have. Just a lot of people are maybe they've seen other people have the experience of meeting somebody and having it be very romantic or kind of a romantic rom-com, meet cute kind of moment, and they really want that for themselves. And the truth is that the technicalities of meeting somebody, of actually getting connected with somebody who might end up being a good fit for you is deeply unromantic. And so I think that a lot of times it can feel, I think maybe therapists in particular, a lot of us, I think, have really excellent social skills. I always have considered myself something of an anomaly among therapists because I had to put in huge amounts of effort and work into dating. I did dating from 2005 until 2020 when I met my wonderful husband. On and off, I had some relationships in there. But I know a lot of therapists who met their partners in college or who just met their partners in real life and never really had to dive into dating as much. And so I think that sometimes when you had that experience or you had that feeling of, oh, well, if you just know good people, if you're social, if you get out there, this will happen, that can be your expectation of it, when the truth is that there actually are incredible tools nowadays that can help clients put the real effort and good work into actually finding a partner and creating that romantic life for themselves down the line. But the work itself is deeply unromantic.
Uh-huh. I love the honesty there too,
Yeah.
because most of the good work in therapy is not anything anybody's excited about doing, right?
Right. Right.
And when you're talking about dating, like it sounds like it could be really fun. It sounds like it could be like a lighter version of therapy, but my guess is it's not therapy light because dating taps into all of our not enoughness. It taps into our self-consciousness. It taps into our skills gaps. So, yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of good, juicy stuff there.
It is incredibly vulnerable just by its very nature. If you think about it, you're putting pictures of yourself and some information about yourself online for
Hmm.
a bunch of strangers to like scroll past and judge whether you're worthy of a swipe right or a swipe left. Like
Yeah.
that is an incredibly vulnerable thing to do. It is also it's a behavior that goes against operant conditioning. So, operant conditioning being essentially the encouragement or discouragement of a behavior through consequences. Does a behavior happen and then it gets rewarded? Well, that behavior is likely to happen more. Does a behavior happen and it gets punished? Well, it's likely to happen less. And dating, by its very nature, is very punishing. It
Mm.
is the kind of thing where you're going to be sending messages and you're going to get no response. You're going to go back and forth with somebody and then they disappear. You're going to go on a date with somebody and they are awful. You're going to get a little ways down the road with somebody and they're going to ghost you, right? You're going to show up to a date and nobody shows up. You get stood up, right? Like there, oh my gosh, there are so many things about it that are deeply punishing, and yet you have to keep coming back and doing that same behavior. It's really
Hmm.
rough. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I hadn't ever thought about it from like an operant conditioning lens. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see it when you start working with clients around dating, it is so incredibly clear
Hmm.
because clients will put a profile up on a dating app. They'll be on there for maybe like a week and a half, and then they're going to come back into session. And they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, so this isn't working. I think I'm just gonna delete the app."
Hmm.
And part of your job as a therapist is to get them not to do that, is to help them to stick with it and continue to use the skills over and over and over again. And of course, I'll go into what some of those specific skills are. But it's your job as a therapist to help them to see, no, this is your brain telling you to stop because in any other like circumstance, if you're getting punished this much, you should stop doing it. It isn't
Hmm.
worth your time. But
Yeah.
this is the kind of thing, it's a little bit like searching for jobs is kind of similar, right? Like you're going to spend 20 minutes getting your resume looking good and another 30 writing a cover letter, and you're going to send out a job application and you never hear back, right?
Hmm.
You're going to get a few interviews in and they're going to go with another candidate. I do think that job interviews and or searching for jobs and dating are just these two life areas that are deeply punishing, and yet you have to keep coming back and doing them.
Yeah. When I think about, so online dating was really, it was new when I was in my mid 20s and single. And so that was back when eHarmony was like, I think that and OkCupid. But eHarmony was the one, if you actually wanted a relationship, you went on back in, I can't even think of the year, like 2005 or something. Um, and I remember it feeling like a part-time job. Like I was only on it for 3 months and I was like, this is exhausting. This is like fatiguing. I'm like showing up, trying to show up as myself so it can be like a clear opt-in, opt-out. I'm going on these dates with people that some of them I'm like, well, his profile didn't really snag me, but maybe in person it'll be different. Those kinds of things. And I just remember it being like a lot of work, a lot of work.
It is an incredible amount of work, and having that expectation is actually really good that as
Hmm.
clients are coming in. So I kind of have this mindset that I try to give to clients, which is just as a little bit of this kind of like down to earth and yet very hopeful. I call it like cynicism plus certainty. And I think if
Okay.
therapists can really lean into like the cynicism of modern dating, plus a certainty that if you keep coming back, that it will work. That's very helpful because you are absolutely right. It is a part-time job. This is
Hmm.
the kind of thing that every day you're going to want your clients to be spending a certain amount of time on those apps. You're going to want them to have a really clear strategy as to what they're doing with really clear objectives that they're going to try to meet. and to keep coming back day after day after day and doing it, and then to take vacations as you would from a normal job too, of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I got to take a week off. I am burned out. What are you going to do with that week off, and how are you going to come back in when that week off is done?
Mm-hmm.
But I think thinking about it like a part-time job is a great idea because genuinely it's a massive amount of work, and it's
Yeah.
emotional, really vulnerable work.
Mm-hmm. And I think nowadays it's not uncommon for people to meet their long-term partners on these apps. Even if their parents might not get it, even if their grandmother thinks it's crazy. Um, I think the people you're surrounded with can also kind of help you stick with it or make you feel like, yeah, this is kind of weird. Like, why would I think I'd meet somebody online if I haven't yet? It's just like anything else. When you're around a bunch of naysayers, it's a lot easier to give up.
I think that's one of the hardest things for folks. Everybody has an opinion about online dating, especially, I would say, especially people who haven't done it,
Mm-hmm.
have an opinion about online dating. And there's a lot of like, there's this myth of like, the second you stop looking, then you're going to find the person. Trying too hard, that's what's getting in your way.
Mm-hmm.
There's these kind of modern phrases about online dating, like, oh, swipe culture is just ruining everything. And there is some reality to this, right? I mean, there really is some reality to this that a lot of the apps are owned by one company, Match Group. It's really incredible how much of the market Match Group has snatched up.
Mm-hmm.
They buy dating apps. So in 2018, they bought Hinge, which at that time had an annual revenue of about $9 million. Dollars. And by 2022, it had an annual revenue of about $248 million, dollars,
Wow.
right? So they take a dating app and they create all of these paywalls. They add advertising into the platform, and they essentially are making it so that it is harder to meet somebody. People are staying on there longer,
Mm.
so it's there. There's a cynicism to this, that the
Wow.
market is owned by one big company that really their intent is to make money rather than to help you meet your partner. And so we have, for example, years back, OkCupid had this beautiful mechanism where you could create your own algorithm to bring in the right people for you. And I had a whole strategy developed for folks around how to use this algorithm to just make it so that you're really only seeing people who are actually a decent fit for you coming into your sphere on
Mm-hmm.
OkCupid. And Match Group bought them, and I don't know if it was intentional or what, but they've broken that system. That system was actually developed by two Stanford researchers who, I believe they were statisticians actually, who kind of knew how to use data to make dating work, and Match Group broke it. And so being able to being able to lean in, even though a lot of these apps are working against you to some extent, and to still know that you will be able to meet somebody if you keep using the skills. It takes a lot of support. And so if you've
Mm-hmm.
got people out there who is saying, this doesn't work, swipe culture's ruined everything, just stop trying, you're going to meet somebody the second you stop trying, you're going to be really susceptible to that. I'll be honest, like my last round of dating, which lasted 8 months, it was in 2019 into 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. Um, and I was a dating coach, and I had all of these skills, and I'm on all the apps, and I'm using all the things that I teach. And I swear to God, I got about 2 months in, and I saw this article, I think it was in the New York Times, about how like like, is it possible to meet a partner through online dating? I don't know. It was like somebody who was writing about like, oh, I had a lot of fun with online dating, but I did it for 2 years and I just don't know if it's possible to meet a partner through it. And I, even with everything that I know and all the clients that I had helped and all the success that I had seen, I was reading this article being like, dang, maybe it doesn't work. And I had to remind myself, no, you keep your head in the game here. Like, stay
Mhm.
focused. You can make this work. You can, by definition, you're going to keep doing it until you meet somebody. And clients, they need a lot of help and support, not only from you, but also just as a therapist, if you can help them build that good community so that they are hearing the supportive voices and that they're able to screen out some of the naysayers and some of the people, the peanut gallery who doesn't actually know what they're talking about. That's really important and really helpful for clients.
Yeah. And I mean, I think about the way things have evolved, maybe back 20, 30 years ago and before, meeting people out and about made a lot more sense. But nowadays, with people working from home, is it going to be your Uber driver? Is it going to be like, or your Uber Eats driver? Who's going to be the one person you interact with that could be the one if you're not making concerted effort? Because we know we're getting together a lot less as a culture. Um, it's it's just not something that is dating is not something that is supported by our culture in the way that it has been in the past. So we have to adapt.
Right. I think that that is really true. There's interesting research on this. So the
Mhm.
Pew Research Center actually has some stats on how many people are actually meeting their partner through dating apps or through online dating. And the numbers are actually lower than I would expect just based
Okay.
on who I know in my life and just anecdotally my experience. I'm a couples therapist, so the couples that I see.
Hmm.
But what the Pew Research Center has found is that 1 in 10 partnered adults have met their partner through online dating. So
Hmm.
it's definitely not
I
a
would have thought
majority.
higher. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even under 30, it's 1 in 5, which is, that's 20%. That's a
Hmm.
decent amount. At the same time, again, not a majority. And I will say this is not just anecdotally, this is not what I have seen in my experience in my life among my friends who are partnered, among my partnered clients. It is a higher percentage, but let's go with the Pew Research numbers. It's not a majority, but what has really shifted is that there are real opportunities to actually like bias the odds in your favor at this point. That you don't have to wait until you bump into somebody at the produce side of the grocery store. You don't have to wait until, the matchmaker at your temple comes up with just the perfect person for you. That you can actually create those opportunities to meet people yourself.
Hmm.
And a lot of clients are very interested in IRL dating, in real life dating, offline dating. That's one of the first questions often that I get is, I don't know if I want to use the apps. I think I'd rather like just try to meet somebody in person. And that's for a number of reasons. I mean, maybe they met a partner in person decades back and now they're single again and they want to try to do that again, or they've never online dated and it feels really scary to them, or they have tried online dating and it didn't work for them, and so they want to try a different approach, or they're hearing some of the naysayers saying it doesn't really work. And what I tell people is absolutely that will absolutely be part of the portfolio of dating activities that we're going to put together for you. But even IRL dating, even offline dating, it takes work and effort, and there's even an online component to it of you're going on meetup.com and you're finding meetups in your area that are going to throw you into the path of other interesting people who are interested in what you are interested in. There's going
Hmm.
to be a networking process of you're focusing on friendship skills, making friends. You never know when you're going to make a friend at a meetup or a cooking class or volunteering at the animal shelter whose brother's going to be in town and that person's going to end up being the perfect fit for you, right? It's just because so let's go with, even if it's the majority of people are still meeting their partner offline, it's networking that's going to make that happen. And so
Hmm.
again, you have a lot of things that you can do, activities that you can do, efforts that you can make to widen who you know. And you're absolutely right that if you're working from home, if you have a life where you are meeting only a limited number of people, you're going to have to make some sort of effort to expand that.
Yeah.
And so being able to use the dating apps plus some offline dating strategies that also are quite intentional
Hmm.
is really your best bet.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's kind of get into a little bit. Like when you're working with somebody who is like they're coming to you because this is your specialty. How do you assess their kind of their mindset around dating, their confidence levels, those kinds of things?
Absolutely. So I've created a worksheet that therapists can use to do this. So I'll just actually go down the areas on the worksheet. Um, so the thing that I always start with is assessing a client's mindset. What is their level of cynicism here? What expectations are they bringing? One just example of a distorted expectation that you really want to assess for is like an expectation of how much work are they going to have to put in here? Do they expect that they're going to come in and they're going to put a profile up and people are going to message them and the world is going to receive them and people are going to see them or not? Because if they have that expectation, the answer is or not. And they're going to put their profile up and they're going to get a bunch of messages from people that they would never, ever want to meet in person. Some of them creep them out. And they're going to feel like, ah, crap, this didn't work
Mhm.
because the expectation was off. And so I start with what are some of your expectations here? What's your mindset around this? And oftentimes there are areas in there where there's going to need to be work even before a client gets ready to date, just even in the first place. So starting with mindset. Next, we move into these really much more concrete and specific areas. Photos. How do they feel about photos of themselves? Do they have a good set of current photos from, say, the last 6 months to a year that look like what they look like now? The last thing that you want to do is go on a date and the person is surprised by what you look like because you used photos from 5 years ago. And
Hmm.
so, how do clients feel about the photos that they have? I give clients an assignment, even if they feel pretty good about their photos. I'll oftentimes ask them to still schedule 3 fun activities with friends. Let their friends know the purpose of these activities is to have fun, but also to get some photos of me that I can put up on dating apps. They have friends come with their phones out, ready to take those pictures. And then at the end of those 3 fun activities, they've usually got a great set full of action shots of them doing things that they love and ready to put them up online.
Yeah.
Um,
And with
uh,
people they love too, which really matters. It makes you so much more comfortable when a camera's on you if it's somebody you care about who is caring about you.
Exactly. This isn't about getting those professional photo shoots done. This isn't about having the perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect outfit. Having some new outfits can definitely help. I oftentimes recommend that clients go shopping so they feel super cute in what they're wearing, and then they've got some cute first date outfits ready too. But it's more about like, are you doing something that is interesting, that illustrates something about your life?
Hmm.
The more action shots you can put up of yourself on a dating app, the more interest you're going to get from potential matches because they're going to see, like, oh, you know, she bakes pies. How cool is that? Or, oh, he arranges a Settlers of Catan night every Friday night with all of his friends. How awesome, right? They're going to be able to see, like, these are some of the pieces about you that are interesting, that you have this full life with all of these things that you do. And so, assessing whether clients feel like they have a good set of photos, do they have a good set of action shots showing them doing things that they love? One thing, I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about the profile as well, but you really want to think about having hooks. You want to give potential matches something to bite onto. What is something interesting about you that they can message you about? As clients move into messaging, they will see how hard it is to find something to message people about from their dating profiles, and you want to make your profile as easy as is humanly possible for somebody to message you about something. And the way you do that is by having pictures of yourself that show you doing things that you love.
Hmm.
Um, You want to assess, like, do they have a sense of what app they want to use? And just things to look out for are you want them to be on an app that has millions of users. You want them to be on one of those apps, the ones that I mentioned are most are owned by Match Group. Bumble is not, by the way.
Hmm.
Bumble is not owned by Match Group. Bumble is quite commonly used. Hinge is really common. OkCupid, Match.com, and of course Tinder. And you want them to be able to have a sense of like what are some of the more common apps in the area, and you want them to choose two. The research on this is going to be marginal at best. Just use, you can help them use Google, or you can use Google yourself and just be like, yeah, it seems like people around here, I'm seeing on Reddit, a lot of people are mentioning Hinge. That might be a good one to try. And then you want to prepare them to essentially test out whether the apps are really working for them. And so for me as a dating coach, I was very meticulous about keeping track of like where did I meet people to go on first dates and what apps led to the most second dates and things like that. And so you can help clients, keep at least some informal track of um, which apps are working for them and which are not, because it's going to be really hard for them to find like the perfect dating app for their area. Which one should they absolutely be using? They all suck, but just get yourself on them and start to see which ones have the highest chance of actually putting you into the path of people that you want to meet. Um, you want to help them write their bio or their profile in a way that shows some interesting things about them. So again, just in terms of writing the profile, you want lots of hooks in there, specifics, not just that they like to go out to brunch on a Sunday, but that they like to go to Grand Lake Kitchen and to get the avocado toast. Because it's so much easier to message somebody about like, oh my God, you've tried the avocado toast, but have you ever tried their like banana pancakes, right? It's so much easier to message somebody about something specific than
Hmm.
something vague. And so you want to just get a sense of like how comfortable do they feel about writing that profile and putting those specifics in there. The big one here, how comfortable do they feel sending messages? How comfortable are they sending the first message? This breaks down along gender lines a lot,
Hmm.
but not all the time. But a lot of times, especially when I work with straight women who are looking to date, especially cisgender men, they really want their partner to take the initiative. And oftentimes, the exact line that I hear is, and it's so understandable, in my last relationship, I had to do all the emotional labor. I had to arrange all the dates. I had to make sure that we did every activity that we did. And this time, I really want somebody who can take the initiative. And so you want to assess for that's a distortion because wanting somebody to send the first message is a truly terrible strategy to assess that. You want
Right.
to be getting in touch with people, and down the line, two dates, three dates in, that's when you're going to start to see like, are we equally passionate about this? Are we equally interested in this? Do we have equal ability to plan? Do we have equal energy for setting things up with each other? But you're not ever going to get to that point if you're not sending the message. The stat that I tell clients is that I can count on one hand. You remember I dated from 2005 to 2020 in multiple stints in there. I can count on one hand the number of times that I went on a date with somebody who messaged me first. If
Hmm.
you wait for people to message you first, you're going to get messages from people that you never want to see. I don't know why it works that way. The people that you want to meet, I guess, aren't seeing your profile, or there's something that they're missing on there. Whatever it is, you need to draw their attention to it. And how are you going to do that? By sending the first message. And so one of the most powerful things that therapists can do is to get a sense of whether their clients are ready to take that particular step. And then just in terms of kind of the rest of the areas to assess, you really want to get a sense of how comfortable do they feel with how to set up a date? How comfortable do they feel about setting up a second date if the first date goes well? Do they have some skills in there? Are there some social skills deficits around those areas?
Hmm.
Do they have a sense of how to build intimacy with somebody who they're actually getting to know? Oftentimes that can be a little bit of a barrier for people of like, okay, well, I got the small talk thing down, but like, how do I turn this into an actual relationship? Or I feel like I keep getting like friend zoned here or something. Like how can I actually like take this deeper and really get to know somebody on a deeper level or build even like sexual intimacy with somebody? And so therapists can really play a role in helping clients to build some of those skills. And then of course we have all of the hard stuff that you want to assess for their readiness for as well. Are they ready for rejection? And what do they anticipate that that will feel like if they get a rejection? Is that going to knock them off their game? Is that going to make it so that
Mhm.
they can't actually come back and keep doing this work? What is their strategy for managing burnout? Do they have a strategy for incorporating offline dating that will help them with their cynicism, their burnout? It's something to do and to keep feel like they're still working on this in those weeks when you're actually going to take a real break from online dating. And so I
Mhm.
have a worksheet that therapists can actually download they can just use straight with their clients and just assess their readiness for each of these areas and build a specific plan for how they're going to approach each of the areas that clients are feeling worried about or even have really severe, even some trauma or some mental health issues that are going to be obstacles to them being able to do that area.
Mhm. Amazing. When I just think about how ripe the situation is, like you were mentioning rejection, just all the different setbacks people can face. And if you're already kind of struggling with stuff, like most people are, if you've got a lot of eggs in one basket around like, okay, well now I'm gonna meet the person and I'm gonna meet them like this week on this app, or you get your hopes up so high, or you've been talking to somebody that seems really great, but when you meet in person, like it just doesn't click. How do you how do you keep them on track with their ultimate goal even when these hard things have happened?
This is one of the hardest parts about this. Um, clients, uh, clients oftentimes they have these goals that are are great. If you're working with clients who have made great career strides, have a lot of success career-wise, especially if they work in a corporate environment, they're going to set goals like, I'm going to go on 2 dates a week. And that is actually not something that you can really control. Um, it's not actually in your control whether you're getting enough messages from enough good people that you can go on 2 dates a week.
Mhm.
Um, so much of meeting your partner is still luck. All of these things that they are doing, it's about biasing the odds in their favor. It's about increasing their luck at meeting somebody because they're buying a bunch of lottery tickets,
Mhm.
because they're creating so many different opportunities for them to win the lottery, but they still have to get lucky. And so being able to help clients focus on what can they control. Are they going on that app? Are they going on every day for 20 minutes, maybe even up to an hour? Are they sending 3 to 5 messages to new people every day? Even within that, there are times when that's not going to be possible because you live in an area with fewer people, right? You've kind of gotten to the end of the app. There's nobody else on
Mhm.
there. There's going to be times, holidays, summer. There's this unfortunate chunk of months in the summer where everybody's, I guess, traveling. I don't know what. And the app usage is lower. And so
Mhm.
you're going to get to the end of all the people on the app real
Wow.
quick. And so helping clients to understand, all right, so, what can we control here? You've gotten to the end of the app. Do you want to try logging on to another app and try that one instead? Oftentimes I will recommend that clients are on one of the swipe apps, Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, in addition to being on one that has kind of those longer profiles. So that's going to be OkCupid is usually one I recommend. Or for folks who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, Match.com is often a good option, but they have longer profiles where you're going to write more about yourself on there.
Mhm.
And so I'll recommend, like, why don't we switch for a little bit and try this other app and see if there's different people on there, if you're getting different traction on there, or switching to offline dating. But helping clients to know, like, these are the things that I can actually control to continue to bias those odds in my favor and not focusing on things like I'm going to go on 2 to 3 dates a week. That would be awesome. Hopefully you're getting enough messages for that, but that is not actually the experience of most people on these apps. It
Hmm.
is
Right.
oftentimes much more sparse than that. Or there's going to be times when it's just like, boom, there's so many people. You are going on like 4 dates this week. Like, whoa, where did that come from? And then it's going to die down again. And it's just not, there's so much of it that is kind of ebb and flow and not within your control. And sometimes you're waiting, as I was, for your partner to leave the person that they're with and be ready to meet somebody new.
Hmm.
And I had to hang out for 8 months waiting for my amazing husband to be ready to try online dating. And he got lucky because he went on 2 dates before he met me, but I went on 35
Oh, wow.
35 first dates, 64 dates total over 8 months before I met him. And so just
Yeah.
knowing that you can have the best of goals in here, but if you can drill down and focus on those objectives, am I
Hmm.
sending my messages? Am I using the app every day? Am I switching apps? Am I switching up my strategy when things are sparse?
Yeah. I'm curious anecdotally what you see with maybe this isn't working. I'm going to give this up. Maybe some rejection sensitivity, those kinds of things with the 20 somethings versus like the 60 somethings. Is one group in your experience more likely to be like, maybe this isn't for me?
You know, I generally tend to find that like confident 20 somethings aren't they aren't necessarily going to need all of this, right? And so if you're working with a client and they're like, yeah, I'm going to hop back on the apps again, you might be like, cool. Do you want to check in about an area or two, make sure that you're confident on some of the areas that we know really help? And oftentimes clients will be like, oh, yes, definitely. But when I start to go through those areas, they're like, oh yeah, no, I have photos. Oh yeah, I message all the time. And so you'll be able to really suss out like, oh, this person's super confident. I will say that
Mhm.
that does tend to be more in the younger demographic that people kind of maybe they grew up more in an online world, or this has been so much more normalized for them. Like I remember when I started dating in 2005. I mean, it sounds like you were on
Uh-huh.
eHarmony at the same time, but it was stigmatized. I was kind of secretive about the fact that I
Hmm.
did it. I felt a little bit ashamed, and um, every time I met somebody, it felt kind of like this secret clandestine thing that I was doing, and I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to sit at the cafe but away from other people, so I didn't let anyone know that we were on like an online first date. And I think that younger generations have grown up with like, oh no, this is absolutely how you meet people, and this is one way to meet people, and it sucks and it's annoying, but it's definitely one of the tools you're going to use. And just so absolutely, I do think that some of us in the older demographics have a little bit of a different perspective on this and might
Hmm.
need a little bit more help and more support. And will kind of come to this point maybe more quickly of like, this isn't working. But the truth is that you're going to find folks in any age demographic, any body size, just any physical ability level, who kind of feel like, oh God, this isn't working, or more specifically, and this is why I think therapists are so perfectly poised to work on this, like this isn't working for me. I
Hmm.
cannot get this to work for me. There is something uniquely damaged, weird, unlovable about me that makes it so that I will not be able to meet my partner doing this, even if other people are having success.
Hmm.
And so being able to break through that with just clients just of all stripes are going to have that particular worry and that particular fear come up for them. And even the confident ones will be like, oh no, I got this. And then 3 weeks later they'll be like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ever going to meet somebody. And so even
Hmm.
even with somebody who doesn't need the like nitty gritty step by step work, like being able to do that deeper confidence work with folks is so important.
Hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about like the folks, the older folks in their 60s or 70s, and they've been through so much life. They probably have built so much resilience that I was wondering if it was like, oh yeah, that one didn't work out, but on to the next, or if it was more like maybe I'm going to try something else. Yeah. And I guess it just
You know,
depends. It just
it,
depends on the person,
I
right?
think it is the nature of online dating. It is just so discouraging.
Hmm.
It's so disheartening. Um, it's the kind of thing that like it's so powerful that even the most confident person or somebody who's just yeah seen so much of life um, will uh, will kind of have that like will extrapolate from their experiences and say, you know what, this is just not working for me. It's not going to work for me. And uh, yeah, and so I think as therapists, just being ready, that it shows up in a number of different ways. So you're absolutely right. So like for an older demographic, a lot of times what I see is, or I should just say for folks in their 60s, 70s, like what I am seeing is that uh, like the way people kind of get to the point where they're like, oh, this isn't working for me, is they'll just say, you know what, I'm just not focused on this right now. I'm going to focus on other things.
Hmm.
And so just being attuned as a therapist to like, oh, is this person making a really healthy choice to take a break from something that is really stressing them out? And I can help them do that. Or is this some anxious avoidance here?
Hmm.
Is this something that I could actually challenge for them and help them do differently? Versus with younger people, they're gonna blame it on the app, right? They're gonna be like, you know, 20 somethings are gonna be like, ah, these apps are lame, like they don't work, right? Like they don't work for anybody, and that's gonna be a little bit how they come to the end of the line of their dating is that they're just
Hmm.
gonna say, no, I'm uh, I'm not going to even try to use this app. So it definitely looks different, but
Hmm.
just, you know, knowing your client well enough to know, like, is this them ducking out of the process? Is this them saying, no, no, I can't make this work for me? And if so, challenging that, leaning into that, because that's going to impact their internal working model. It's going to impact their ability to see themselves as a lovable person in this world.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think about how we, like with social media at least, it's also curated. And it sounds like there's a healthy curation you're encouraging with the photos they choose, those kinds of things of like, let it be something you love. Like it gives them a picture of your life. I think I live in the South, so like everybody talks about how all the men have fish, right?
All the men have
Um,
fish, all the men have guns. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yep.
And so like, okay, well that's something to talk about potentially or to swipe the other way, one or the other. Um, so in images, I'm understanding how you're guiding your clients on showing up authentically. With these bios, how are you helping them really show up as themselves? Not everybody's a great copywriter. How are you helping them really not, like wuss out on it? Like to really show up as themselves and not some what I've seen. I'm thinking about like a few clients who've shared their dating profiles with me, and as a marketer, I'm like, oh gosh, we got to opt some people in and out with this. And you're just like vanilla all the way across. Like nothing is specific to you, really. It's like being where I live and being like, I like hiking. Like, yeah, everybody likes hiking. How are you helping people find the copy in themselves to show up for these longer bios?
So I strongly recommend actually doing this work in session. So
Love it.
you might have them just kind of bring their phone into session with you if you meet in person, or send you screenshots if you're meeting virtually. If they're on one of the apps, so OkCupid, for example, that you can access from the computer from a website, you might actually have them screen share with you so that you can look at what they've written. Oftentimes, clients are very amenable to this. This can feel a little vulnerable if you're still getting to know a
Hmm.
client or if they're more on the anxious side. But a lot of times, clients are like, yes, oh my God, please help me.
Hmm.
And what you want to be looking for are those things where it's like, I'm looking for somebody nice, funny, and trustworthy. And you want to actually lean into helping them to get really specific about that. Nice? Can you paint a picture of that? Like, I'm looking for somebody who leaves treats out for the neighborhood cats, right? Like that's
Hmm.
a way of illustrating nice. Like you can actually help them to paint that picture and give these really specific niche things for people to latch onto. If you have a client who's really into something very niche or likes a really specific type of music or something like that, encouraging them to put references to that in their profile. I put tons of references in my profile. I quoted a poem that I loved. I quoted a song. And it was so funny. So I dated both men and women on the apps, and when I was dating women, I had quoted from an Indigo Girls song, and the quote is, "I'll pick you up with a cooler and a 2-day suitcase." And every lesbian of a certain age
Hmm.
knows that song,
Hmm.
and would message me about it. No, when I was dating straight guys, none of the straight guys had any clue, and people would be like, "Oh, like sounds like a road trip. That sounds fun, right?" Like, and they
Hmm.
they wouldn't quite get the reference, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's just it's about kind of having cool wording. It's about just kind of showing things off about yourself, and you never know when somebody's going to pick up on that. Always remember in 2005, I had this strategy, and I quoted a song where the quote was, "I hate a lot of things, but I love a few things," and I like quoted something like that on my profile. And I remember some guy messaged me and was like, "Instead of talking about the things that you hate, why don't you talk about the things that you love?" I was like, okay, so maybe that line is a little too niche for people. Maybe people are not picking up on that line. And that's another thing I really want you to encourage your clients to do. This is trial and error. You are
Hmm.
not, the line I use with my clients a lot is, you're not going to scare away your soulmate by getting your profile wrong. You're
Oh,
not
I
going to scare
love
away
that.
your soulmate by writing this, writing a really niche profile that nobody gets. You know what?
Hmm.
You can come back later and edit it. And my experience around this was, so my last round of dating, I was getting a lot of interest in going on these dates with people who were just a terrible fit for me. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna change my profile. I am going to just make it so that like everything in there is kind of like something of an inside joke that only somebody who really gets me would get. And I changed my profile and made it like super niche. And I remember I ran it past a friend of mine, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "But is it funny?" And he was like, "Uh-huh, yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Perfect." I was like, "Great," because I don't want to date you. I want to date somebody who like gets it. So that was my profile, and I swear to God, I did not get a single match for 3 straight weeks. Not a
Oh,
single
wow.
match because the profile had changed to something that wasn't really going to work. And so I actually changed it to be a little bit more inclusive, but still more reflective of who I was. And right after I changed it, actually that's when coincidentally I met my husband.
Hmm.
And so
Good
just
timing.
helping your client, I know exactly, just helping your clients to think a little bit about like okay, I've put this, that, and the other thing in my profile. Am I getting connections that I want? Am I getting any messages at all? If not, how can I change it up? And
Hmm.
then just two things to really look out for in your profile. So I mentioned that I had put the like, oh, I hate a lot of things. Like having negatives in your profile at all tends to be not the best idea.
Hmm.
So, and oftentimes those sound a little bit like, please don't message me unless you're serious about meeting up. Or
Mm.
even just these like discriminatory things that are like, don't message me if you're under 5'5". And it's just like, dude, like no, you cannot screen people out like that. Or sometimes it'll be like a little bit of an insecurity, like I want you to know that I'm a plus size woman, and I want you to be sure that you're okay with that before you message me. And it's there's vulnerability in that.
Hmm.
And what I want to encourage therapists to do is actually just help your clients to build this like positive, affirmative profile that shows off the fullness of their life, with
Hmm.
the understanding that they're going to be able to get into some of those conversations as they're messaging with somebody down the line, or they're going to be able, somebody will show themselves to be like ready to meet up or not down the line. And that's a much better way to stress test that.
Hmm.
A colleague of mine actually talks about a particular form of this, and she calls it like arguing with an ex. And you, like, your clients will see this. They will see so many profiles that are like, well, I'm looking for somebody who actually shows up and is trustworthy and isn't gonna break my heart or things like that. And you can tell that it's like this is a conversation with somebody specific about
Hmm.
something specific. And it's like super off-putting. And so just helping clients to kind of remove any of those pieces that can come from relational trauma and really wanting to make sure that you are screening out the people who are going to treat you in the way that you have been treated in the past.
Hmm.
And it's understandable, but it is off-putting in a profile.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think we've all seen those. I think those are pretty common. And it's something that when I'm talking with my clients, I'm like, okay, what hasn't worked for you in relationships in the past? How do we avoid that? And it's not by saying like, I want somebody who will actually remember to let the dog out without being reminded. Like it's not that way. It's looking at what's the converse positive for that. I'm looking for somebody who is just an initiative taker. They're always doing something cool, like that kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and be specific about that. Like somebody who loves their dogs so much they can't wait to take them on 2 mile walks every day, right? Like
Hmm.
something like that. And there are going to be some people who read that and they're like, "Pff, no, right?
Hmm.
But there are going to be some people who are like, oh, they love their dog. Me too, right?
Hmm.
And that's you want to think about that you're creating a marketing message that brings in your ideal match.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking too, this overarching kind of need for somebody else's eyeballs on your profile. Whether that's a coach, whether that's a close friend, whether that's a person you don't want to date, but having some clarity because we're too close to ourselves sometimes. And I think about your point that therapists are so well positioned with this because we see all these beautiful, wonderful things in our clients, even when they're mired in their self-consciousness or they're feeling less than. Like we see that and we know them so well in a very specific way, but a way that can be helpful and clearly communicated in something like a profile. That if we're helping them pull from themselves these things we see in them with our therapist magic, then there's this opportunity for them to show up as very confident in their profile instead of the like, I am a plus size woman. I hope that's okay. Instead of that kind of energy coming of like I'm fat and hot. What you want,
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes, especially if you're looking at profile after profile online, you're gonna just see like, oh my gosh, well, everybody's a backpacker, everybody's a rock climber, and you're gonna see these like trends,
Hmm.
and clients will feel like, well, but I don't do those things, or, well, but I have backpacked in the past, but I haven't recently, and so like, what do I put, and am I being misleading? And you really, yeah, you want to help them to dig into like you do not have to be like a mountain climber or a lion tamer to, to put something interesting on your profile. Like that Settlers of Catan night that you organize every Friday, that's awesome and nerdy, right? Like that beautiful pie that you baked that you're pulling out of the oven, that is photogenic. Like get that in there. Like people will message you about like, ooh, what kind of pie was that?
Hmm.
Right? Like these are the things that are super worthy and interesting about you. I even sometimes clients have like photogenic jobs, right? Are you a tattoo artist or do you do something where like it looks cool on a photo? Like put that
Hmm.
on there. Like it doesn't have to be something wild. It can just be something just really normal and mundane about you that is pretty cool.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like a therapist profile, just like looking really like intentional and concerned and interested. Not like that. Don't do that, y'all. Um, okay, so I'm thinking about how well positioned therapists are to help people with their profiles, to help people with their confidence around dating. But we also have this really like deep understanding and knowledge of their early relational experiences, their family systems, trauma histories, things like that, which can have a really big impact on dating in general. Um, well, let's take, for example, like family systems. How can we as therapists help our clients see that the families that they grew up in, even if they don't feel like there's a big problem right now. It might be impacting whether or not they choose to go on that second date or whether or not they feel
Mm.
comfortable making that first reach out.
Oh, there are so many pieces to this. And this is one of the reasons that I am strongly in favor of therapists and not dating coaches doing the primary work around dating, because I do think that everyone hits on that deeper family systems piece at some
Hmm.
point. So, were you pigeonholed into a certain role in your family of origin? And is that making you feel like you can only seek out certain partners now? Were you made to be the caretaker, and so now you over and over and over again seem to be attracting and meeting and being attracted to people who have a lot of their own work to do, but maybe aren't doing it and need to be kind of dragged along?
Hmm.
Helping clients to see some of those patterns as they are moving back into dating can be really helpful. Sometimes I use the piece about like, um, you know, growing up, you experienced XYZ and you were not parented well and you weren't taken care of and you have spent your whole life caring for other people in this, that, and the other way. You deserve something different as an adult, as a grown up. Like you deserve to have an adult relationship that is really caretaking and wonderful. Or you experienced this growing up and your first marriage was also like that. Let's get you something different now. Let's look for something different. And helping clients to kind of understand like when you meet somebody who doesn't have any work to do, does that feel boring? Does that feel uncomfortable in some way? Does it feel like maybe you're not good enough to be with somebody like that, and that you do need somebody who is kind of damaged in some way? Helping clients to understand too that the vast majority of people on dating apps are going to be a truly awful fit for you, and
Hmm.
of the remainder, like the vast majority of that are going to be like only an okay fit for you. And it's going to be this very, very small number of people who are a really unique fit for what you're looking for and what you deserve as a client, as a person. And so just helping clients to understand like just because this seems like it's kind of working out or this person could go for you or you could like them enough doesn't mean that that's something you should continue to lean into. And
Hmm.
looking at some of the family systems reasons why they might kind of want to have this check the box checked and figured out and settle for somebody rather than continuing to put the time into finding somebody who is an incredibly good fit for them.
Hmm.
Just helping people too. A lot of times, um, just people will have a reason why they want this to be done and figured out. And there's dating specific reasons, but there can also be trauma and family systems reasons why they want to just figure this out and meet somebody and be done.
Hmm.
And as a therapist, helping them to be more comfortable sitting with the uncertainty, sitting with the process, sitting with this is a marathon rather than a sprint. How does that feel? This just takes time. This it takes a lot of time sometimes. It's lonely waiting for this to work out. How do you conceptualize loneliness in your life? What does that mean that you're feeling lonely right now while you wait to meet somebody amazing? Does that mean something negative about you? There's just so much opportunity for work here. I mean, one piece that I just mentioned right at the beginning of our conversation here, I want to come back to now too, is that you don't want to get stuck doing the trauma work, the family systems work. That can't be the only work that you're doing with clients who are really struggling to get started with dating. They need help with the skills too.
Hmm.
And it's we are uniquely positioned to help them because we know them so well and we can do this deeper work with them and we can dive into some of the roles that they have internalized for themselves and how that's continuing to show up in their current dating and their adult relationships. That's really important to do, but you can't only do it. And a lot of times clients want to do that work first. Like first I have to solve all of my relationship issues, everything that's wrong with how I approach relationships, and then I can date. And
Hmm.
that is an understandable desire. The truth is that a lot of those problems will be solved in relationship with somebody who is a really good fit for you. as opposed to somebody who is activating your attachment style in this really negative way,
Hmm.
somebody who's activating your relational trauma in a really negative way. That being able to just trust that you will be able to continue to do that work even once you meet somebody,
Yeah.
that's a really important piece for therapists to stress.
Yeah. I had a supervisor back in the day who would always say, like, we get sick in relationships and we get healthy in relationships. Like, it's always in relationship that we heal. So she was a big rejecter of the whole, like, you can't love anyone else until you love yourself, which I feel like is such a thing that people believe, like they need to solve themselves,
Right.
and have like just unconditional, constant love for all parts of themselves before they're willing to invest, which I think is like just anxious avoidance, right? It's like a
Yeah.
great excuse to not engage in what's pretty scary ultimately.
Right. Yes, it's anxious avoidance, and it's also that expectation distortion, right?
Hmm.
It's the idea that you can figure yourself out, like, right, that you're working one on one with a therapist, that you can just do all your work and figure it all out, and then be
Right.
done, and then you can move forward, and you'll be healthy, and you'll never run into those old trauma issues ever again. And the
Hmm.
truth is that, man, that's just the work comes up here, the work comes up there. It gets easier over time if you have certain skills that you can use to manage that work when it comes up. But listen, like, we're going to be doing our work over and over again. And yeah, allowing yourself to seek out that really good connection with somebody to continue that work with
Hmm.
in a partnership, it's just a really powerful way of looking at it, as opposed
Yeah.
to the expectation of like, no, I'm gonna get myself right, and then everybody will want to meet me, and I'll be good to go.
Hmm. I'm thinking about the skills conversation and like they're the skills that you talked about before. Like it's a skill to create a good profile. It's a skill to reach out and to like hold on to yourself while being the first one to reach out. It's a skill to manage rejection. What about those like in the moment social skills? Like you're on a date and how to be and that kind of thing. How do you teach people about that?
Absolutely. This is one where I think we can really draw from some social anxiety treatment,
Hmm.
where in social anxiety treatment there is a component of teaching actual social skills. So things like preparing in advance. What topics are you going to talk about? Do you have some questions, some open-ended questions prepared that you can ask the person? Do you have a couple of anecdotes about yourself that you can offer? Watching out for talking too much about yourself, right? And letting the other person do all the listening or all the questioning. And
Hmm.
then also being sure that you're not interrogating them or making it seem too much like a job interview because you're not sharing anything about yourself.
Hmm.
So just oftentimes kind of like assessing for whether clients feel like they have a good sense for that, or if clients are feeling a little bit paralyzed about that, giving them those concrete social skills, even practicing. A lot of times clients don't want to practice that, but suggesting to them that they practice maybe at home in the mirror or while they're driving, just kind of talk to themselves and pretend like they're on that date and ask those questions and tell that story, especially tell that story in a nice lighthearted way, leaving out the like pain point that might be more of a fifth date conversation.
Hmm.
Um, Oftentimes I will model, just even if they don't want to practice, I'll just be like, absolutely. So, what you might think about is saying a little bit of XYZ. A lot of times, if clients are coming to you for treatment for something really hard, really sad, really painful, or if a client has gone through just cascading traumas recently, they will want to know, like, I mean, but like, how do I talk about that? And how, like,
Hmm.
do I talk about that? And you can help them to think about kind of like first date conversation. You might have a little bit of like a elevator pitch kind of glaze over of what happened, that you're not going to go deep into it. And that if you're getting questions about like, well, tell me about your family. And there's like, man, is there pain in there? That you might say something like, well, there's parts of that that are more of a fifth date conversation, but yeah, I got two siblings who live here and my parents live there. And right, it's just, that you might hint at there's more without going
Hmm.
deeper into it. And then you help them think about like, well, what's the third date conversation where you might start to actually lean in? And then
Hmm.
what is that fifth date conversation where you're really getting to know somebody and it's like, well, here's something you should know about me and here's what happened to me.
Hmm.
So just kind of preparing clients for how to have that like lighthearted approach. Um, Sometimes I do a little bit of teaching for clients around like flirting skills and can you give a compliment? Can you try some lighthearted teasing? Can you do things like, oh my God, you know what we should do is we should check out that new ice cream place, like kind of a little bit of future planning, a
Hmm.
little bit of touch. Oftentimes, like a real easy one, sometimes is just even on a first date, is like if somebody has like tattoos, you might just like allow yourself a little touch of their tattoo if that feels comfortable to you, and you know if it feels if you get the sense that it might feel comfortable to them, and just be like, oh, tell me about that tattoo. But just a little bit of touch here or there can be just a really good flirtation skill. And then also just letting clients know, like, I know it can feel like there's one right way to do this, but like, you know, remember my experience of my 35 first dates, 64 dates total. Like, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but you're probably going to become an expert on this before you're
Hmm.
done. And just allow yourself to try a skill here, be intentional about it there, allow yourself to be more instinctual about it on that date, and just allow yourself to kind of become that expert over time. Don't feel like you have to kind of get it right and that there's only one right way to do it from the beginning.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah. And I love the idea of you gain expertise as you go because you really do. Like, I remember at some point in my late 20s, I was like, yeah, I know first dates really well. Like, I know how to do this. I feel comfortable going on them now. I'm not nervous anymore. And I know how I'm going to show up. And yeah, it's interesting too. This is one of those areas where therapists need to be mindful of like their lived experience is not their clients. And we got to be really careful not to like give dating advice based on our own experience and instead to like you're talking about like what does the data say? Well, what treatment modalities are effective here? That kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely. I do strongly recommend that you think of yourself to some extent as like a scientist, especially if you haven't ever done any online dating or if you met your partner like the old-fashioned way, way back in the day, and this just isn't an area that you have any firsthand lived experience with. Just seeing yourself to some extent as like a scientist, like you and your client are going to look at this with clear eyes together. You're going to look at what does the client's data say? They're on Tinder. How's that working for them? So another thing the Pew Research Center found is that about 40% of people who are doing online dating are looking for a serious relationship. And to be fair, like that is what this skill set is aimed at, is people who are
Right.
looking for a serious relationship
Uh-huh.
versus people who are looking to for hookups or to have fun or to do real casual dating. Um, so 40% of people are looking for a real relationship, something more serious, and 40% of people are looking for hookups. And
Hmm.
so, you know, are you on an app? And my experience, at least in my area, was that Tinder was very biased towards people who are looking for hookups.
Right.
And
And
yes, it
that's
is one of
its
the apps.
reputation,
It's
right?
its
Like,
reputation
hmm.
as well. And so, yeah, not just going by what the reputation is, too, like what is the client's lived experience?
Hmm.
Man, you know, because these things are constantly changing. Like, oh, whoa, has Hinge now become the hookup app? Like, where did that come from? Or like maybe in your area, that's
Right.
kind of what that app is geared towards all of a sudden. And so just as a scientist, just kind of you and the client are going to look at the data together and adjust and make decisions based on what the data is telling you.
Hmm.
And so the more you can kind of think about like, yeah, how can I have that more empirical mindset here? How can I help my client be, you know, in grad school we call this like a single subject's design. So it's, the client is the only subject here, but
Hmm.
what is the client's experience? What is the client's data here? And what can we extrapolate from that? And to help, you know, you can have that more objective view of that. If you can allow yourself to, yeah, pull back from any bias or experiences where that you have had, that you can actually help the client to see with clear eyes, like what is the data telling them?
Hmm. And the data is also it lets you know where the problem in the funnel is, kind of, right? Like if you've got a profile but nobody is responding to you, nobody's getting in touch with you, like you know that it's something in your bio needs some work, whether it's bio, picture, whatever, maybe even the app itself. If you're getting interest, but maybe you're not getting to a first date. Maybe there's something in your communication in between being matched and that first date. If your first dates never lead to second dates, like maybe that's the quality of the people you're pulling in with the bio you have, but maybe that's also like some quirkiness going on that first date that isn't working. So you also kind of get along the timeline of things happening, you're getting some data to be able to figure out what needs tweaking.
Absolutely. And yeah, also helping clients to draw the right conclusions from that
Mm-hmm.
because it is extremely common to join a dating app and there's crickets.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely common to send message after message after message and no response. And to be able to help clients to know, you know what, we're still within the realm of what's normal. Let's,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not seeing anything in your profile that is concerning to me. You've got good positive stuff in there. You've got hooks in there. They're specific. These are things that people will be interested in. Your photos are great. Like, we don't need to change anything right now. Let's hang out and see if something shifts.
Yeah.
Is this a lull in the dating app usage? Are we in the holidays? Is it summertime? Is it some random lull that just happened to happen right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like allow yourself to hang out and sit tight and keep doing the work and see if something shifts over time. So yeah, helping clients to to interpret the data
Mm-hmm.
is a really helpful skill as well.
Yeah. And I mean, how long are you hanging out and waiting? Like, I'm guessing 6 months, nobody's getting back in touch with you. Nobody's like that might take some tweaking of the profile itself.
Oh my goodness, so many tweaks that you can make in there. Yes, how long do you hang out? I mean, I don't really like for clients to have like no engagement
Hmm.
for say 3 weeks in a row.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So it's, so you want to think about, can you get some clients some engagement here? Can you get clients some activity? And so
Hmm.
that obviously that includes like, are they getting messages back? Are they setting up a first date? And so things to kind of look at there, like, are they maybe being a little too picky about who they message? Are they kind of like, oh,
Hmm.
there's nobody? You might be like, let's just, are you okay with double checking this? Will you screen share with me in this session or bring your computer to session, bring your phone to session, and we can actually, I'll watch your process of how you make a decision about somebody.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, sometimes clients will be like, so I'll use an example that is almost universal among cisgender straight women looking to date cisgender straight men. They want someone taller than them.
Hmm.
And that is one that I will oftentimes lean into challenging. There's really good reasons for wanting that. And at the same time, right, like that is not a good predictor of is that person going to bring you soup when you're sick? Is that
Right.
person going to give you a Christmas present that is just like shows how much they know you? Is
Hmm.
that person going to listen to you after a hard day? No.
Yeah.
The stuff that really matters, height is not a predictor of that. Um, and so helping clients when they're kind of like, oh, I'm like, no, but I want to date is getting back to me. Like, well, are you maybe screening out some of the wrong people? But yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Switching up the app, taking a break if it was kind of like they were getting engagement, suddenly it stopped. Like, all right, let's take a break and come back in 3 weeks and see if like the app has refreshed
Hmm.
with new people. And when they take that break, they're doing an active break and they're going on meetup.com and finding meetups they want to go to, or they're signing up for a cooking class or volunteering or saying yes to a party invitation or hell, throwing a party themselves and just working on some good networking skills.
Hmm.
Even just, chatting with somebody, flirting with somebody at the gym. You never know, right? Like
Yeah.
you just kind of using some active offline dating skills while they're waiting, and then
Hmm.
coming back to it.
Yeah. Love it. Amazing. Krista, thank you so much. I hope that like
Absolutely.
therapists can take this, integrate it, and really be thoughtful about how they're working with their clients who are dating because it's a thing. It's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
Amazing. And where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yes, so I am building out a project on this, but I already have some pieces up if people want to find out a little bit more. I have a website that's called Help Your Clients Find Love,
Oh,
helpyourclientsfindlove.com. And it's got a course up there for clients that they can take, and it's got the worksheet that you can download to do that assessment with your clients. And there's going to be lots more coming as I build out that project.
awesome. Love it. Thanks so much, Krista.
Absolutely.
I hope that broadened your clinical horizons. Head over to notboringces.com to get your CE credit. Want to have a not boring conversation with me about your clinical area of expertise? You can apply there too. If you like this conversation, leave us a 5-star review, tell a friend, and be sure to subscribe for future conversations.